Oi, Artur.
Oi, Ana.
Tudo bem? How are you?
Fine, I'm fine. Thank you
Yeah,
very much for the invitation here.
yeah, it's my pleasure. So, this is the 100th Subject to episode, and today my very special guest is Artur Pessoa. He's an associate professor at Universidade Federal Fluminense in Brazil. His research interests focus on developing insightful approaches to solving optimization problems in general. Artur has contributed to designing solution methods based on integer programming, column generation, dynamic programming, branch and bound, and related techniques to tackle combinatorial, bilevel, robust, and other optimization problems. He's one of the key figures behind several state-of-the-art exact algorithms for vehicle routing, scheduling, and generalized quadratic assignment problems. He has published papers in prestigious journals like Mathematical Programming, Operations Research, Theoretical Computer Science, Mathematical Programming Computation, Informed Journal Computing, Transportation Science, EJR, among others. Artur was honored with the Best Doctoral Dissertation Award from the Brazilian Computer Society and has twice won the Best Paper Award at the Brazilian OR Symposium. In addition, he received the 2017 Best Paper Prize from the journal Mathematical Programming Computation and the 2022 Transportation Science Meritorious Service Award from Informs. Artur is one of the developers of the VRPSolver package and the Coluna branch cut and price framework. He's also co-author of the recent book Optimizing with Column Generation, written in collaboration with Eduardo Uchoa and Lorenza Moreno. Artur, you are one of my heroes, not only as a scientific mentor, but also as a great friend, and it means the world to me that you have accepted the invitation to be part of this very special episode of the series. So, muito obrigado, thank you so much.
I thank you. You are being able to make me shy now with a lot of good adjectives. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, that's you deserve it. So let's start. Artur, you were born in Rio in 1972, and you grew up in Ipanema. So it's reasonable to say that you were the boy from Ipanema, right?
It sounds to me like something fancy. I don't really like it. Okay, that's true, but okay, my mother and my father are from other parts of the country, and I like to think of myself like a Brazilian, a typical Brazilian from many places, not only from Ipanema, but okay, I have many friends in Ipanema, and
Okay. So let's hear about your parents. What did your father do for a living?
my dad owned a printing shop for several years. It's called Printing Shop Alves, and now my sister is taking care of it. But when he was alive, he used to take care of everything, including fixing the machines when they break.
Wow.
And he's not an engineer. He learned himself how to fix the machines.
Right, so very skillful. And your mother comes from my state, Paraíba, just like Eduardo Uchoa's mother. She had a tough life in her early years, right?
Yeah. She was orphan of mother, father, and she was the kind of person that when it starts to tell about her history, everybody stops and starts to listen because she passed many difficult situations before reaching Rio de Janeiro and having kids and all of that.
Right. I had the pleasure of meeting your mother in Niterói. She's very lively. Did she work somewhere?
No. All her life she was a housewife, but she used it to do some clothes, but only at home and to sell to some people, but only at home.
Okay, so very informal
job. Make some money.
Yes, I also met your sister Ligia once. She's very nice and has had a distinctive professional career compared to yours, right?
She's a psychologist, but she did not follow the career of psychologist. She had only one patient all her life, and started to take care of the printing shop. And sometimes I tell her, "You are the manager of the family," but she hates that.
Okay. Okay. And how did you used to spend your time in your early years?
I did many things. I liked to play soccer. I was not a good player, and sometimes I played like a goalkeeper, but only for fun. And I use it to play in Flamengo Club, and I do not support Flamengo.
Good for you. Yeah, I know.
But I do not support Flamengo, but I use it to play in this club because I knew many friends there, and I use it to play there. And there's something nice that I like it to do when I was a kid. It's like developing board games, but physical board games with pieces and like in a paper with squares when you move, and usually the topic of the game is like fiction with spaceships and some war or something. And I used to have a friend that tested my board games. Carlos Augusto. Carlos Augusto was a friend that I used to meet every day to test my games. And the rules were used to be very complicated already. And I always win the games because it was difficult to understand the rules.
Right. So he was a guinea pig when you wanted to test your games, and he was just there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned soccer. Do you have any memories from the 1982 World Cup and the legendary Brazilian national team?
Yes. I think I cried when Brazil was eliminated from the World Cup, because it was one of the best teams that Brazil had, and this team was not champion. But I think everyone cried. That was funny. I don't see anymore in the current dates this passion for the team.
Mm-hmm. And a couple of years later, Fluminense, your team, won the national championship in 1984. That should have made you happy because it took them forever to win the next one.
But I support very much Fluminense, but I never went very much to the stadium because it was difficult for me to go. I did not have an opportunity to go. I remember when Fluminense was champion, I was in a car, the back of the car, listening in the radio.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I have a T-shirt here.
You came prepared.
You did not expect that.
No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you came prepared. So when it comes to Rio, one immediately thinks about carnival, samba, and so on. Was this part of your soundtrack as teenager and young adult, or did you prefer to listen to other things?
Yeah, I like samba, but it's okay. There are some important sambas that everybody likes, but it's not my preferred kind of music. Really, I like rock and roll.
Yes.
From since I was a kid, I used to like rock from Brazilian rock from the 80s. I have a T-shirt here also.
Okay. How many shirts you have?
The Giovanna, it was a band, a Brazilian band.
Very important. Yes.
I like the Dire Straits also.
Yeah.
And I also have a T-shirt. Okay, no more T-shirts.
Dire Straits is among my top 3 favorite bands.
Nirvana, I like Metallica, but really, I never go very much also to concerts. Yeah, I never go very much to concerts. I was like a kind of a nerd. I like it to be at home.
Okay.
Developing programs, computer programs.
Yeah, got it. Did you have a good education in primary and secondary school? Also, were you a good student?
Yes. I studied in Santo Agostinho. Before Santo Agostinho, I studied in a small school called Fontainha, but it was classical in Ipanema. Yeah, it was in Ipanema. Yeah, it was a classical. And then I moved to Santo Agostinho, that is a big school from the 5th grade. And it was a big change. Because in Fontainha, I was the best, absolutely the best student in the school, because it was small, and in Santo Agostinho, there are many good guys there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really big.
Right. Artur, for those who know you well, you come across as a very low-profile person who tends to avoid the spotlight. Were you always like that?
I was almost escaping from this interview. I was almost running, but now I'm okay. But I was almost running from here before starting.
Yeah, I know.
I really don't like spotlight. I also feel happy when I save money.
Okay, I know that.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to talk about that later too. So, talking about money, in the 80s, Brazil was going through a significant transition politically and economically. What are your memories from that time?
Hyperinflation. That's terrible. The prices increase every day. There was a joke that I remember in the TV where some people trying to buy something, and with the product in his hand, someone comes to remark the price.
Wow.
And remark again, and no, do not remark. It was like, but it was a joke, but almost like that, because it's terrible, and the money in your hand starts to decrease the value
Mm-hmm.
all the time, and I was very much worried about that. I used it to read the economy part of newspapers, and I remember the president Sarney trying to control the inflation, called everyone to be Sarney's fiscal, to
Okay.
take care of the prices, not to let the stores increase the prices. But of course, did not work. Only later, many years later, that people really managed to apply a plan that really worked for controlling the inflation.
Mm-hmm. In 1985, at the age of 13, you got your first computer, and your life was never the same again.
That's true. That's true. I saw the computer the first time in a friend's house. I was playing games all the time. I liked the games, but I asked my mother at that time to buy a computer for me, and I think my mother is very smart. Although she was orphan, she's very smart, because she told me that I needed to make a course to learn programming before I deserve earning a computer. And I did a course when I was 13 years old, and I learned the basic language for Apple computers.
Uh-huh.
The first Apple computers, and I received TK 3002E. It was a computer compatible with Apple IIe.
Okay.
It was a good computer for the age, and I used it to write programs. And before I was able to to receive a diskette driver, I use it to type my programs, play a little bit the games, and when I turned it off, I lose everything.
Yes. So you used to play games, create your own games, and also do some other types of routines, right?
Yes, like routines to draw a circle. Because in Basic, we did not have a routine to draw a circle, and I needed to use sine and cosine. And sometimes I used some movement based on acceleration to just to describe a circle in pixels
Wow.
faster.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you did all of that at the age of like 14, 15,
Yeah.
something like that?
Yes.
Very
Yes.
impressive.
For
Um,
15, yeah.
Did you have an interest in hardware, or was it mostly in software?
I had an interest in hardware also. Yeah, but it's funny because I only learned how to write programs, but I like it to read about computers, how they work, but I did not manage it with electronics when I was a kid. I wanted very much to learn, but I did not. But the reason why I wanted to learn how the machine worked is because of my father. I think the influence of my father, because he used it to like very much machines, but not computers. He liked mechanical engineering. I think he probably wanted me to be a mechanical engineer, and I changed it. But I wanted to keep playing with machines, and that's why I chose computer engineering. That was a new career that was appearing.
Mm-hmm. You also loved combinatorial analysis. Do you think that interest hinted at what would come later in your academic career?
Yes, I think so. This was something that I really loved when I learned. There was a case where when I was a student, I liked the exercise, the challenging ones. I liked it very much to try to solve and to think how to solve the combinatorial analysis exercises. And at some time, I was solving some exercise that the professor was giving to us, and I tried to make them more challenging. And I told the professor, and the professor could not solve it. People from that age started to mess in the classroom, and it was terrible. I did not want that, but it was.
Yeah, so you created a bit of a chaos by asking a difficult question.
Created a bit of chaos.
Yeah, okay.
They like it to create chaos. Any reason for creating chaos was good for for them.
Yes, I see what you mean. So choosing a computer engineering degree seemed like an easy choice for you, but what led you to select PUC-Rio for your studies?
Yeah, there was only two options for me because I wanted computer engineering. It was a new career. I only had that. I did not have in the most public universities, only in PUC-Rio. That was not public, but I passed in a place that I could receive a fellowship, not to pay for my studies. And the other place was the Military Institute of Engineering. But it's military. I did not really want it, but I wanted to have an option to decide later. But the exam was just after the party of the last year. I was not feeling very well because of a hangover.
Okay.
And I dropped it. I only did the first exam, and I did not do the second because I was not very well.
Okay. Fair enough. So in 1991, 1 year after joining PUC-Rio, you became a teaching assistant. Is it true that you unintentionally made life quite challenging for the students in that class?
Yeah, okay. You are always remembering a lot of stuff that I did. Yes. Because I was always very enthusiastic of everything that related to computers. And at that time, they wanted in the first discipline of computer science that people start learning how to write computer programs. They was also, I don't know why, teaching invariants. That was a technique to prove the correctness of programs. And it's difficult. This was difficult for people that was just learning. And I was teacher assistant, and they had to make some works, and I was not giving good grades for people that could not do the invariants. But I tried to teach them, but it was really difficult for
yes, it was a bit advanced.
Yeah, it
introductory
was
course
for the place for the second period of university.
Yes. You became a computer engineering student at PUC-Rio with a primary goal of learning how computers worked. Nevertheless, because PUC is a Catholic university, you had to take several religion classes. While most students use these classes to improve their GPA, your experience was quite the opposite, right?
Yes, that's terrible. Because religion classes usually were easy. But as I did not like, because I wanted to know how computers work. I did not want to study religion. Nothing against religion, but I was not there for that. And but there was one period that I got a professor that was a priest, and that wanted us to really learn everything about religion, not only Catholic religion, but all religions, how they work. And that was terrible. During the class, we needed to read the text and answer questions that he did to identify in the text many concepts of religion. Today, I think they are nice concepts, but at that time, that was like hell for me. I have a friend that every time he meets me, he starts to imitate that priest, like Master Pessoa. where is epistemological disruption? and I remember I tried to find, but I was not really paying very much attention. I started to complain about me that I was not paying attention. It's terrible.
Master Pessoa.
I use it to call every student as master.
Okay. Yes. So, but if he meets you nowadays, he should call you Dr. Pessoa at least, right?
It was just to remember that age. We still call me master.
Yeah. So once you figured how a computer worked, you started attending parties and enrolled in humanity classes to meet girls, including one called convivência, which can be loosely translated as social interaction. Could you tell me more about this shift in your goals?
Yeah, it changed a lot
Shift.
because it was quite different because religion classes I was obliged to assist because, it was obligatory. But after that, at some point, I was like satisfied with what I knew about computers. I was already working in a company developing hardware and in computer engineering there was not many girls and I was like missing having more female friends. And I started to do other disciplines more human and this special one was quite funny because it took place in a cabin and we had to talk with seeds and to write a report about what the seeds told us and talk with stones also and things like that. And there was a class where we tied each other with a rope in the hand, in the foot, and everybody started to move to realize that the movement of one influenced the movement of the other. It was like that. It was really funny.
Very profound. So you spoke to seeds, to stones.
Yeah. And there was a guy that slept. The professor told this history about a guy that used it to sleep all the classes. But in the end, his grade was 10, was the maximum grade because he was present anyway in another spirit state.
Yes. Very interesting class.
Yeah, really nice.
Okay. Yes, I like that. Yeah. He was present anyway, but in a different state.
In another state.
Did you study optimization during your undergrad?
No, nothing at all. After I left, they put optimization as part of the program, but when I was there was no optimization at all. I didn't know what optimization was. And when I was doing an internship, I faced an optimization problem because I needed to put logical expressions in programmable ships, programmable arrays. The name is programmable logic arrays. And there was some limits on how much logic doors you can use. And that was an optimization problem, or at least a feasibility problem. And I tried to do by hand. And at some point, I wrote a greedy algorithm for placing the logic inside the chips. But I had no idea what was an optimal solution. And that solution could be far away from the optimal. But
Got it. And what was the topic of your bachelor thesis?
It was about Petri nets. Petri nets is a tool that is used for robots, for example, also for communication protocols to detect deadlocks. And there was an algorithm to analyze Petri net. But my topic was like a language to describe Petri nets. But I worked in scientific initiation many years with an algorithm to analyze Petri nets and several variants of Petri nets that they have colored Petri nets with timing.
Right.
It was nice, really nice.
Yes. And you called
it was combinatorial. It was combinatorial already, but not optimization.
Yeah. Interesting. And you call that a language PENELOPE, right?
Yes, because my advisor liked names like that.
Oh, okay.
It was an acronym, but I don't remember the acronym. I don't remember the meaning.
Right.
Petri net language for open something.
It seems that you always wanted to be a scientist, but you changed your mind by the time you graduated. What influenced that change, and where did you go afterward?
Yes, hyperinflation again. Yeah. And another problem about Brazilian government that did not pay my first fellowship of scientific initiation. I did not really need the money at that time, but what happened to me is that I did not receive for several months after I had the right to receive the fellowship, but I only received everything accumulated, I think 6 months later or something like that. But with hyperinflation, it was really with a lower value, much lower value. And I was thinking, when I have a family, how can I live with support like that? And I really dropped it because of that. And I started to do internship in a company and develop hardware. And it was a small company, but anyway, it was something that I liked also.
Yeah, so you were hired by the company, right?
Yes, after the internship, after I graduated, I was hired, and I was responsible for an important project there, a card for remote communications between computers. There was no internet at that time. Computers had cards for local networks, but to do remote networks, I needed to connect to a modem and to a packet network that was provided by the government. And usually banks used cards like that. And the cards had processor inside, memory inside, and to be able to process the protocol, the communication protocol, needed to have the cards needed to have their own processors. It was really nice, really nice. I learned a lot with that.
Yeah, so really hardware design
Yeah,
and not much of a software
yeah.
development.
Yeah, I realized my dream of developing hardware.
Yeah, that's nice. I remember that you told me that you set the place on fire once, right? They even call you Nero after that incident.
Yeah, my boss called me Nero, but I did not set fire in the place. Only a little bit of smoke,
Okay.
or at least very much smoke, because I was developing. I used it to work at that time. I already used it to work until late at night, and I was developing hardware and test program that test the hardware and. Very concentrated, but I was hungry, and I put a bread in the electric oven, and that was also no microwave and no timer. But I had to take the bread later. I just wanted to warm my bread a little bit just to eat later, but I forgot about the bread, and at some point my eyes started to hurt me, and I looked around. Finally, I took my eyes out of the computer and looked around. It was full of smoke, and I thought it was on fire. I started to run, but when I passed close to the oven, I remembered the bread. And then, okay, the oven was very warm, and I put some water to try to make it less warm, but the water touched the glass and the glass broke it. And I had to change the oven, to buy a new oven for the company. And my boss in the next day was calling me Nero because it was smelling like smoke. All the company was smelling like smoke.
I know exactly how you can get focus when you're working, so I'm not surprised to hear this story. Yes, I did not know the details though. So you stayed there for 1.5 years, and then the company went bankrupt, and then you left to another company.
Yes.
And how was it?
Yeah, I left to the company that used it to develop the device drivers for the boards that I developed, and also for other boards that was imported, that come from out of Brazil. It was nice also, but the problem is that I had to give support for people in the phone. And also developed. I'm not able to do that. Absolutely not able to do that, because when I started to concentrate, the phone was ringing, and that was terrible. And I left. That job I really left. The first one I did not left because I wanted. I left because they was not paying my salary anymore. But this one I left just because I could not stand the job.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And
that was good that I was still living with my parents.
okay,
That was
yes.
really good.
And one day you received a phone call from Eduardo Laber at PUC-Rio that changed your life, correct?
Yes, Eduardo Laber. He works with approximation algorithms until today, I think. Perhaps he's now working with other things, but that was the topic of his doctorate thesis. He's a very good researcher, but he called me not for that. He called me because one of his friends who was an important person, H-Turn.
Ah, okay.
Company.
So jewelry business. Okay.
Yes. And asked for someone to start the informatics department, like an informatics department. I would be rich today if I accepted that, but I did not want that. Because I wanted to be a scientist again, because I was very disappointed about being a scientist. But when I went to
the industry
private initiative to companies, I was also disappointed anyway. So disappointed, I decided to go back to academia. So talking with Eduardo Labe, I asked, "What are you doing today?" He was like a teaching assistant, earning some money with projects and doing research. And I told him, "Okay, I don't want to go to H-Turn. I want to do what you are doing." And later I discovered that he would earn some money finding me for his friend.
Okay.
He did not earn the money because of me. But okay, we did a lot of work together.
Right. So you started masters in 1998, the same year your first son Pedro was born, by the way. And I think you told me that you have failed your first attempt to start a master's. You were not selected, but then in your second attempt, it worked. And what was your research project about?
It was about Huffman Trees. Because since I started working with Humanities, that was Eduardo Laber's advisor, I started working with Huffman Trees. Huffman Trees, it's interesting because it's applied to data compression. But it's indeed a combinatorial optimization problem, because you need to compute a tree that represents a prefix code, a binary code, to minimize the expected length of a code, because each code has a different length, and it can be decoded because it's a prefix code. It can be decoded later, and but every code word has a different length, and you can manage with this length. It's a nice combinatorial problem with many properties. And I like to start to work with that. I started just implementing some algorithms, but very soon I started to prove some theorems together with Eduardo Laber, and that was really nice.
Yeah. So there were theoretical contributions and also computational work, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how
do
was
you
your...
remember ELAVIO? That was an ELAVIO.
Okay, yes, I know ELAVIO.
That I went. Eduardo Uchoa was there. Eduardo Laber was there. Many people that are old now was there, and it was funny that everybody was. It's operations research, and everybody was talking about NP hard problems. And when I started to talk, I told, okay, my problem is not NP hard. My problem as a linear algorithm, but we still want to improve it because there are some people that use it to compute Huffman trees for really huge vocabularies, dictionaries.
Right. Artur, how was your first experience presenting at an international conference?
I went to a Dymex conference on codes and trees. It was in a small city called Piscataway. I think it was close to New York, because I remember going very quickly to New York for the first time in my life. And I presented a talk about the first version of the algorithm that I developed in my master dissertation. It was preliminary, And at that time, it was nice because Huimili Gil did a nice work preparing me for the talk, correcting my English, reviewing my slides. But I think that he did not like very much the talk because in the end, he told me that the English was really good, but there was too many information in the slides. I like it to make slides with many drawings and animation. I always like it to do like that, but there was too many information. And
Okay.
but over the years, Huimidiu helped me a lot to improve my presentations.
Yeah. I mean, it's this is how it works, right? You start from somewhere and then you improve over the years, so that's perfectly normal. And talking about conferences, those who know you well are aware of your ability to find the cheapest places to stay while attending them. And you seem to take pride in this. I remember that in Bento Gonçalves in 2010, you stayed in a place where the toilet was located inside the shower area.
Yes, yes, there was a shower area and the toilet was there. And when you left it, you may lay down in the bed already because it was just after. But there was a place where I could put my computer and program. But it was really narrow. It's the narrowest place where I ever lived. It was probably a closet that they made a room. But it was funny because it was cheap. I saved money. I like to save money. If it satisfy all my needs, that's okay. I am really proud about that.
Yeah. It was also very practical because you could do your business in the bathroom while taking shower at the same time. Yeah. Going for a PhD next year seemed like a natural choice for you. What was the topic of your PhD work?
I had two topics. This is something that I tell to my students. The topics, I don't know if I'm right, but but I think the topics do not need to be really very much related to each other. Because in my PhDs, they were not really very much related because Eduardo Uchoa was my co-advisor and he was working with search trees with different access costs. It's also a combinatorial optimization problem that can be solved in polynomial time, but we developed some linear approximation algorithm for that. And we published nice papers about that. But with Remilidiu, we had a project of oil pipeline networks to schedule the transportation of petroleum derivatives. And I created a combinatorial model that tries to capture some characteristics of this problem because I thought it was really interesting. And derived some interesting approximability results and some things like that. Everything very, very much theoretical, but it was nice. It was really nice. I published many papers about that, some papers about that, nice papers.
And one of them appeared in Theoretical Computer Science, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yes.
Very nice, Artur.
SIAM Journal Computing also.
Wow. SIAM Journal Computing as well. Right, nice. Yeah, and at that time, you met someone very special, correct?
Yes. I had many friends at that time that I liked to talk, things that I was learning. But there was a person that became very special later. But I used it to admire from that age. That was Eduardo Uchoa. Because he worked in a different field. He worked with more practical algorithms because he used it to try to solve instances, benchmarking instances, instead of just proving that the algorithms are good. And it's nice. I always liked to write programs, computer programs, and to test my algorithms, but that was not really what people care about in the approximation algorithm area. And that's why I like it to listen to his histories about instances that he could solve and kind of tricks use it to make the algorithms efficient, and some tricks that theoretically does not change much about the performance of the algorithm, but in practice may change a lot. That's interesting. That was interesting conversation at lunchtime.
Yeah, and you took a course with him. And
yes, I took a course with him. We made a presentation together, a course of combinatorial optimization.
That's great.
Presentation together and with slides, and I talk a little bit, and then he talked a little bit in a course.
Very nice. You completed your PhD in 2003, and you won the prize for the best PhD thesis from the Brazilian Computer Society. I lost that prize, by the way, about 10 years later. I was among the finalists, but I did not win. You then started a postdoc at PUC-Rio and began your quest to find a faculty position, but that did not turn out as expected, right?
Yes, that was a difficult period in the country, because for many years, Brazil did not have many open positions as professors. I think it's because, again, hyperinflation that was controlled finally, but the government could not spend money for that, for keeping it controlled. That's nice that hyperinflation comes back all the time. and when it started to open positions, there was many senior professors that was competing with me with the positions. Okay, that was fair because they wanted the position, they needed the position also, but it was not easy for me. And what happened is that I was second in four selections.
Wow.
4 selections. That was terrible. Some selections with many candidates and some selections with only 2 candidates, but I was second anyway. Always second.
Okay. Yes. So I think you told me that those selection processes were on electronics, computer networks, computer science. But unfortunately, none of them work. We spoke about your tendency to find the cheapest places to stay when traveling for academic purposes, and it was no different when you went to São Paulo for the selection process at USP. However, things got bloody out of control, right?
Yes, that's terrible. Yeah, but in that time, finding the cheapest place was really a need because I had a family already and I did not have a position yet. That was something that I really needed. Okay, I am proud about choosing that places, but this time I needed that, and I found a hotel close to Tietê River. Tietê River is a river in São Paulo.
Very famous river in São Paulo, yeah.
A very famous polluted river in São Paulo. And that's some time I had an air conditioner in the room, but I was not feeling very well because I'm allergic, and I decided to turn off the air conditioner and open the window, and then I slept. But I started to feel something strange, and then I woke up. There was many big mosquitoes in the wall, and I started to kill them, but they were all full of my blood, and I started to hit them, and as they were big, they was not very fast, and I managed to kill almost all of them. And I called the reception, the lobby, and they told me that I should not open the window because of the Tietê River, but they should have written somewhere before I sleep. And the day before the selection, I was looking at that wall full of blood. It was like a terrible picture that I found in my memory, but it was nice. My performance was not so bad in the
the performance was okay, but not
I was second. I was second, and that was a difficult selection, and I was second.
Okay. Yes. USP is it's a top university in Latin America, and the competition was really tough, I know. Due to your misfortune in securing a position in academia, you were forced to seek alternatives in the industry. Where did you end up working?
Yes, I ended up working with the same people that I worked before doing my master. Because I had no choice. I took a fellowship for some months. I think I did not complete in 1 year. And I needed to pay the bills. I had 2 children already. I had to pay the bills, and the people that I knew that could give me a job were the people that develop hardware that I worked before. And they were receiving some money from an investor. They created a startup called Tauá Biomática to develop some hardware for security, information security. It was an innovative hardware to do some digital signatures, recognizing fingerprint using smart cards, also reading smart cards. And this hardware was certificated, needed to be certificated by the American government. I traveled twice to the United States to do this certification. It's called FIPS.
Mm-hmm. That's like
FIPS, level 3 certification.
FIPS
completely
is
different from what I do now.
Right. Yeah, FIPS I think is Federal Information Processing Standards, if I'm not wrong, right? Something like that.
Yes.
But then you left that company.
Yeah. Okay. It was a startup, and it did not work. Also, they could not sell the hardware because to get the certification became too complicated, and security is something that you need to trust. And I think the company was too small, and it was difficult to sell.
Right.
And
so you left the company, and then you worked as a consultant for Gapsu, a very successful Brazilian optimization company that was later acquired by Accenture. You also participated in selection processes for a couple of academic positions, but once again, you faced setbacks.
I was second in the university that I am now. I in the selection I was second, but that was terrible because there was only 2 candidates and I was second again, and people wanted me to be there, but other people did not want to. So.
Okay.
So, but at that time they called it the second place also.
Okay.
The professor there. I did also in PUC in the industrial engineering, but that time I was third. But there was only 2 positions. There was only 2 positions.
So it's funny that you support Fluminense, because usually we have this joke in Brazil that if you come second over and over, you're a supporter of Vasco da Gama.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in 2006, you were finally hired. They call the second place, right? By Universidade Federal Fluminense. We call it UF for short. At that stage, you were tired of working with approximation algorithms and decided to turn your attention to integer programming, mainly because of Eduardo Uchoa. So let's discuss some of your main research contributions in the field, starting with your work on the generalized quadratic assignment problem with Peter Han and Monique Na.
Yes. I started working with Eduardo Uchoa. I would like to tell a little bit about Eduardo Uchoa first, because that was my first motivation, because it was because of the conversation that we had in the lunchtime. In the lunchtime, I wanted to work with him. And he was always very much enthusiastic about what he was doing. Like he was changing the integer programming history he was doing. But see, he was like that since I met him many years before. And when I arrived in UF, he was the same thing. That's really nice. And I really wanted to work with him. But it was important for me to have some independent work. And that was funny that I tried to solve some other problems like quadratic assignment. Of course, I failed because it was very much studied problem. But I sent some message to Peter Ham because there was some instance that he did not try with his lower bounding algorithm. But when he tried, it was really much better than I expected. So my method was not good. But after that, he suggested me to work in another problem, a variant that was a generalized quadratic assignment problem, GQAP. And we got some very nice results on that. Like Lagrange relaxation bounds. I could. The first thing that I did was really nice because I could solve an instance exactly with only a Lagrangian relaxation algorithm, only a subgradient algorithm.
Wow.
Yeah, because it hit that rare condition where the solution becomes feasible for the original problem.
Right. Yeah.
It was a difficult instance, and the solution was not known from the literature. That was really nice.
You traveled to the U.S. to see him. He came to Rio too, right?
Yes. I have a.
Wow, very nice photo. You came really prepared.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, he came here. It was in a waterfall in Tijuca Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you went to his basement, right, to see where he ran his experiments.
Yes. He showed me an old computer, but that computer was not the original one that solved the first QAP's instances, but it was similar.
Your first real collaboration with Uchoa was on the capacitated minimum spanning tree problem, a work that was eventually published in Mathematical Programming. How did you contribute to such a work?
I started writing the pricing algorithm for the branch cut price method that they already had, and I did some tries that did not work also with cuts. I proved that the extended capacity cuts that have been developed by him dominated the root cut sets that are known from the literature cut. And also I developed some primal heuristic to give good upper bounds for the problem.
Right. So I remember that the pricing algorithm considered a Q tree, right? It was a tree that admitted cycles, something like that, right?
Yes.
So you also explored the advantages of the extended capacity cuts in solving some small-size open instances of the heterogeneous vehicle routing problem, didn't you?
Yes, that was a nice experience because in the first works, we only separated the extended capacity cuts for node sets that are small, up to certain cardinality. It was because we enumerated all possible sets that induces a connected graph in the support graph. And then in that work with a heterogeneous fleet, I implemented a heuristic to derive more sets, not necessarily exhaustively enumerating all of them, but trying a heuristic to find good sets that are bigger. And with this new separation, we solved, there was an open instance with only 20 customers, and we solved it in less than 1 second. It was really fast. And we thought that the code was wrong, but it was correct.
Very nice. And similar ideas have been applied to solve parallel machine scheduling problems using arctime index formulation, right?
Yes, we started to apply to many other problems. In every application, there was something different, but the ideas were similar. For example, in scheduling problem with arctime formulation, the solution was very sparse. Because the time index used to reach big values, much bigger than capacities. So I needed a special algorithm to take advantage of these sparsities, and we could also fix very much the variables by reduced cost. So it became very, very sparse. I had a completely different implementation that take advantage of this sparsity, but in principle the algorithm is almost the same.
Right.
That's really nice.
Yeah, because you have these relatively large time horizons, because you don't want to lose the optimum, right? And then, but that induces sparsity, and then you have to take advantage of that structure to find ways to decrease the number of variables, and you did that by applying reduced cost fixing, right? Yeah,
and to take advantage of that, we need to avoid matrices that store for all possible time and all possible work. You need to store something, and that becomes huge. And so we needed to use dynamic allocation of everything.
Right.
We implemented data structure like that, very complicated data structure like that.
Yeah. I see. So Artur, I don't know if you remember, but we worked independently on the same problem around that same time. I'm referring to the minimal latency problem, also known in the literature as the traveling repairman problem or the deliveryman problem, which happens to be one of my favorites. We even provided upper bounds for your exact approach that helped prove the optimal solution for some open instances. What made your method so effective?
Okay, we did cycle elimination up to 5. That was really difficult at the time, but later the NG path improved a lot on that. But at that time, we did not have any NG path. In the minimal latency problem, what happened is that eliminating cycle was very important because of the nature of the problem. The optimal solution has a trend to make many cycles, because in the beginning of the road, the arc has a larger costs and it starts to do many cycles. And to do this cycle elimination, we did an algorithm that increased the side of the cycle that we eliminate dynamically. Start with 3 and then start to fix by reduced cost, and then when the graph becomes sufficiently sparse, we increase to 4, and then later we increase to 5. And that was the point. And that was very important. But in addition to that, we started to study many new cuts for the problem. And that was nice because we made a theoretical analysis of the polyhedron and discovered some facets of the problem and proved that they are facets. And that was a nice work that we did with Hernan Beledo.
Nice, yes. Yeah, I met him online the other day. He's a very nice guy from Argentina, right? And he's in the US now. So, Artur, I started my PhD at UF in 2008, and I vividly remember the day we met for the first time. I went to Logis, which is the office of your research group, looking for Eduardo Uchoa. You opened the door and told me he was not there. We then started chatting, and you mentioned how you were able to introduce the notion of Lagrangian relaxation in a course on industrial economy that you were teaching at the time. That marked the beginning of a great friendship, and I have wonderful memories from that period at UF. I hope you feel the same.
It was really nice, Anand. You were really enthusiastic about computer science. I think we made the opposite changes. I was coming from computer science to start teaching in industrial engineering, and you were coming from industrial engineering and doing your PhD in computer science. But you were very enthusiastic about industrial engineering also. I like it very much to talk to you about that. I remember that talk. Really what happened is that the first course that I need to give in UF was industrial economy, and that was terrible because I studied computer science all my life, and I had to study industrial economy, and there was a friend that was playing with me that my course was like that. Consumers need to maximize their satisfaction. Companies need to maximize their profit. Everything else is corollary. But it was almost like that. It was very much mathematical. But I took some ideas from that when I studied that. And nothing is really so bad that doesn't give you some good thing.
Yes, I remember I was blown away because I did not expect one to be teaching that on an undergraduate level, industrial engineering. So I immediately became a fan. Yes. I also remember when I was studying for the selection process at UFPB, the place where I work. One of the topics was nonlinear programming, and then you made a very nice drawing and explained how the KKT conditions worked. And I remember that to this day. It's like the sum of the forces should be canceled, right? Mm-hmm. So you made that analogy, and that's still with me. So Artur, you did so much for me during my PhD, virtually being my third advisor. One thing that I'll never forget is when you noticed that our branch cut and price code for the VRP with simultaneous pickup and delivery was running in debug mode. Our program was running slower than it should, and you had the idea to check the makefile, which had been borrowed from the original BCP code for the CVRP, right? That one that so many people worked on. That was my last day at UF before I had to return to João Pessoa, my hometown, and start teaching at my university in 2011. It was a critical moment, and you were sitting there next to me late at night in my office, giving me enormous support because you knew how important this was for me. you know how hard I wanted to have that branch cutting price working. It was the last contribution of my PhD thesis. And that day, you gave me a ride back home to my apartment. And I felt really emotional thinking about what would have happened to that work if it hadn't been for your great help. So I don't know if you remember that, but it was very, very important for me.
I don't remember exactly, but it's a nice example. That's a so simple thing. It was a pleasure, right? And it was not only because of chocolate. Yeah. Do you remember that? Okay, explain now. Explain.
Yes. So the story is that
no, we have the opposite role here.
Yeah, I have to tell the story. So I was in, I mean, our office of the PG students was in the 3rd floor, and you were on the floor above. So I used to visit you at lodges to see you and show and so on. But at times, I had to devise a strategy to attract you to my office so you can discuss and I can have a little bit of your time. So Puka, my very good friend and colleague, and you used to share the office. And then he used to bring a lot of chocolates. And then I used to invite you to the office and use the chocolates as bait, you know. Hey, Artur.
The bottle is always full of chocolate.
So it was an investment, actually. And thanks to those chocolates, I got precious advice from you. And of course, we did that on lunchtime too.
Because of the chocolate. It was really a really nice time that I took there with you. And a very simple thing that I helped.
Come on,
even the ride it was only 10 meters because we were very close to.
Yeah, but it was late at night, you know. So yeah, it's like I think it was 11
late
p.m.
at night.
Yeah. That brings me a lot of good memories. Yes. So I think I should do that to my students now. Hey, come to the lab, you know, so you can have chocolates. So after I left UF, you and Eduardo Uchoa started to work on an improved BCP algorithm for the CVRP, for which you received the prize as the best paper published in MPC in 2017. In his Subject to episode, Uchoa already spoke about some of the key contributions of this work, but I would like to hear your take on it.
Yes, that was also nice because we discussed a lot about that. In that work, we put together many ideas from many people. I think it's nice to see that this kind of result doesn't come from the work of only one person or one group. We studied the previous works from several people, including Baldacci, Mingozzi, Roberti, Montardo, Ropke, many other people. If I forgot, I'm sorry. But we studied many papers, and it was nice because we were the robust guys, the guys that only believed on cuts that did not change the pricing structure, and keep the pricing efficient. And the result came exactly from a non-robust cut that we tried to make it robust because we realized that it was really a good cut that was used in many other works. Each one was trying to follow his way of looking at the problem, but when we put the two things together, and then we created limited memory rank 1 cuts, that was a way to try to combine the non-robust cuts. At that time, it was not rank 1 cut.
Subset row. Subset row inequalities.
Yeah, only subset row cuts. Yeah, but it was very effective cuts. But when we add some cuts, the pricing becomes intractable. So we tried to combine it with the idea of NG paths. That was another idea from another author. But we discussed it a lot. Took a lot of time until we tried, until we end up with something that really worked. Yeah. And it was surprising how much it worked. It really worked. But okay, it would not get the same results alone, even with this result, because we implemented a lot of things also. Diego Pessin helped us to implement. Diego Pessin was the main implementer of this. And implemented strong branching and reduced cost fixing. It was very important to implement an efficient pricing algorithm.
He's a very good programmer, I know that. Yeah. Yes, so it was a very good team. and it's still to this day the state-of-the-art exact algorithm for the VRP. And then came the collaboration with the team from Bordeaux, including François van der Beek and Ruslan Sadikov, which resulted in a series of influential papers and ultimately led to the development of the VRPSolver package.
Yeah, that was also very nice work. I thank very much Ruslan Sadikov to choose our place to do his sabbatical. I think it's really nice to have in Brazil a high-level researcher from France. And when we asked him, why did you choose Rio de Janeiro to come? He really told that it is because he thought that we were the best in the field. And he did an excellent job. We used it to discuss almost every day about the algorithms that he was implementing. He took everything that Diego Pessim did and implemented it in a generic way. And when we tell that, it sounds like something that is mechanical, but it's absolutely not mechanical, because when you generalize, many problems appear and you have to prove things. And he did a very nice job. Very nice and very difficult to read. The bucket graph paper is difficult to read but it is not because we wanted it to be difficult, because it's really difficult.
Yes. Yeah, Ruslan is just a brilliant researcher. I mean, you mentioned the NG path. I interviewed Roberto Roberti a few years ago in the first season of Subject 2, and he told the story behind it. And I also had a chance to interview Ruslan, and he told that he decided to go to Rio because he found that you guys were the top when it comes to VRP and exact algorithms. And that was a fantastic collaboration. Artur, what about Firula, which stands for Framework for Intelligible, Robust, User-Defined Linear Programming Algorithms? The idea for the C++ framework emerged during one of your visits to João Pessoa, aimed at helping our group implement BCP-based algorithms. We used Firula in one of your collaborations. I'm proud to give that name, just Firula, and then you came up with this crazy meaning for the acronym. But that project became discontinued, although it is still openly available on SourceForge.
Do you want to tell what Firula means? It really means
it's kind of hard to put that in English, but it's when a player tries to do some fancy play in a game. So it's like Firula means that's a necessary level of skill that doesn't add much.
Usually we use this adjective when it's not very objective. It's something that looks like very fancy and very nice, but it's not objective in reaching the goal. That's the objective of soccer, but okay.
But Firula was very objective, by the way.
Yeah, Firula was very objective, because what happened is that we was starting to use Bapcode, but at that time it was difficult to use Bapcode. And currently we have the same problem with VRPSolver. Not many people use it as we wanted to use, because the software becomes too complicated and it's difficult to make it easy for people to use, and people start to implement other alternative codes that they can use more easily. And that was the problem at that time with Bapcode. And we had problems. We got some errors and did not know how to solve the errors, needed to contact every time the creators to solve the problems. And we needed to do our papers and to advise our students to have and I implemented a simplified version of Bapcode, much simpler, much smaller, much simpler, but it worked. And had stabilization, smoothing stabilization. I did not have many things, I think.
You coded that.
We had some in strong branching, I think, very simple strong branching.
Yeah, you coded that in a week.
I had everything in my mind because I implemented it at that time. Before that, I implemented some branch cuts and prices for scheduling. I did not implement the branch cuts and price for the minimum spanning tree, the capacitated minimum spanning tree, but I played a lot of that code and I knew very much. and I had everything in my mind. It was easy to implement, and it had also the idea of identifying original variables by strings that simplified many things also. You don't need the indices. You just create a string, and then you can put any convention that you want for the indices. That is, I think that at that time it was better.
I think you use Firula also to benchmark the BAP code.
Yeah. But the point is that okay, we had a collaboration. We did not want to halt the collaboration because it was very important. The collaboration was very good for us, and we used it later Firula to compare, and we found some bottlenecks in BAP code because of Firula. Yeah.
See,
but BAP code has some advantages also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Memory consumption. Firula creates copies of the problem when it branches. And BAP code does not create copies. It just keeps the part of the problem that changes.
Other research contributions of yours include your work on bilevel optimization with Marcos Roboredo and on the robust VRP, the latter being published in Operations Research in collaboration with Michael Paz and other authors. Speaking of robust optimization, I would like to hear your views on addressing uncertainty in combinatorial optimization problems.
Yeah, robust optimization is a large field, I think. It's a worst case model, but that tries not to be very pessimistic, limiting the scenarios that you consider in this worst case analysis. That's the point. And there are several ways to limitate these scenarios. You may choose many shapes for the uncertainty set. That is the set of scenarios that you work. Usually the set of scenarios is continuous, and you can use like an ellipsoid. That's the most common one in the original literature. But you can also use polyhedral uncertainty sets, like for example a box. That's the simplest one, but for many problems the box uncertainty sets falls into the deterministic problem. It's almost the same as the deterministic problem with some slack that you put in the input data. There is also the budgeted uncertainty set. That's the one that we like, the budgeted uncertainty set. It's like the box because every uncertain variable has a range, a fixed range, but you limitate the sum of deviations. There is a limit to the sum of deviations. It's good because it approximates the ellipsoidal one, but being like linear. So the problem that you need to solve becomes easier. But the nice thing really is that I think the problems become different enough for you to write good papers on that, because it's not just a simple extension of the deterministic model, but they are hard enough for you to write good theorems. So I think it's a nice source of theory of new algorithms and for combinatorial optimization problem.
Right. So you like more robust optimization problems than stochastic optimization problems, or even chance constraint optimization?
You like it. It depends on the point of view. I think the adherence of chance constraint or stochastic, I think it's better. I think it's the natural way that you can look at the models when you have probabilities. But usually they become much harder to solve. And I think robust optimization with budgeted uncertainty set is a nice alternative to solve the problems, because they are not so hard, but they still can approximate the other more natural problems, natural models.
Got it.
I have a paper on that, approximating chance constraint with budgeted robust optimization.
Right. Artur, together, we have collaborated on several optimization problems over the years, such as the TSP with draft limits with Maria Batarra, the closing of TSP with Valton Coutinho and Roberto Quirino, the single machine batch scheduling problem with Vitor Nezelo, Teobaldo Bulhões, Eduardo Queiroga, and Rian Pinheiro. I should also mention our recent work on robust VRPTW with Igor Malheiros. He will kill me if I don't mention him. And Michael Paz. And also the order and accepted scheduling problem with Yuri Laio, to name a few, right? The latter was the one we used, Firula, by the way, right? So do you have a favorite among them?
Now you put me in a trap. Because everybody will be jealous if I have a favorite between them. I like all of them. I like very much. I like that all of them are interesting. All of them have interesting ideas. I think that's the nice thing of doing research is to be able to find some interesting ideas. I think today that people were obliged to publish it a lot. Sometimes it get lost. What really attracted me to research is that thing that you look at the problem, you don't know how to solve, and at some point it's that, and you find something, and I think that's the spirit of the researcher, of the scientist. You found something that is not you did not see at the first time, and I think all this paper has something like that. But there is the one that I like more. That's very different. The close enough TSP because it's not very much combinatorial. It's like it's a bit continuous. It has some combinatorial part, but the problem has some continuous part. And we developed a branch and bound that is not integer programming branch and bound. The branch is different. Everything is different. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's a combinatorial branch and bound.
Yeah, it's a combinatorial branch and bound. Yeah. The relaxation is not a linear relaxation.
Yeah.
In the relaxation, we just avoid visiting some customers. Anyway, we choose some customers and only visit them. This is a nice approach for this specific problem, because there are some instances with many customers where you need to visit only a small percentage of them, and the others are visited by chance because of the distance.
I remember when you wrote the pseudocode in our board here in João Pessoa, and then we implemented that with Valton, and of course Kirin was involved, and it was a very fun project. I remember that. I also witnessed firsthand your strong ability to come up with very smart ideas, some of them simple, and it was just a treat to be able to collaborate with you. And as I said, witnessing you coming up with very nice models, algorithms, and theorems, and so on. Artur, about a decade ago, you developed an obsessive interest in skating. I remember that you even used to travel around with your skate. Unfortunately, that all ended when you suffered an accident that forced you to retire from that hobby, right?
Yes. I started skating in France because I was alone there. I went to France to spend 1 year, but in the middle of the year, my family had to come back, and I stayed alone there to finish my sabbatical year. And I started to use the skateboard in the streets, and it was really nice. It was really nice because I used the skate when I was very young, but I did not learn very well, and I fallen many times, but I did not get hurt very much, and started to have fun. To go to places in a skateboard, but as a transportation method, not to do pirulas, not to do acrobacy, any kind of acrobacy, only to reach the places. Some bars, I went by skateboard to the bar and then take some drinks and come back. And
you attended the IPCO conference in which you stayed relatively far in the cheapest hotel, and then you went to the conference venue skating, right?
Yes, I went sometimes skating. Yeah, that was the plan. Today, I think it was really a dangerous plan because I passed by many places that had not many people, only cars. And I with the skateboard, but okay, nothing really bad happened.
Yeah, I remember when you had the accident, and then you were forced to code with just one hand.
Yes, I had to type with one hand because I had some things to finish, because the other hand was like this.
Yes, I can see. I think we did a call once, and then you were really proud of your skills of, using just a single hand to code.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So, Artur, just changing topics. A few years ago, your wife was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease at a relatively young age. Your life, as well as that of your 3 children, was turned upside down.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been managing to remain productive despite all the difficulties?
I'm not being so much productive as I was. It's difficult sometimes to concentrate. For example, I am at home now. I usually work at home thanks to the pandemic because people got used to work remotely, and I could profit from all the infrastructure that was created for that. Also, the culture of working remotely did not finish after the pandemic. The place where I am now is a small room, a small guest room that we had here, and I made like an office here to be close to my children because I have to give support to them because she is an important member of our family that we cannot count anymore, and everything is on my responsibility. Many things that I did not have to worry about, now I have to take care, and it's really difficult, but life goes on. In the beginning, it was very difficult, but we try to keep living our lives, and I tell my children to try to do that also, to keep living their lives, because this is what she wanted us to do. I think she cannot even talk anymore because it's very advanced. The disease is very advanced, but except for the brain, her brain, everything else is okay. She's healthy. So I think we are going to take care of her for a long time yet, and we have to keep living our lives. That's
Right.
important.
Yes, I understand. It's very, very
Well,
difficult.
I apologize for people that I could not respond well, people that ask me to review papers, and sometimes I do not respond because sometimes I really have to choose what to do, and I cannot do everything. I have to take care of many stuff here to keep the house, the family working.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you have to juggle. It's a very, very challenging scenario for you, and that's why I value all the time that you dedicate to us, to our team, to help us. And it's very impressive and admirable how you can just find a way to address this very complicated optimization problem in the end, right? You take care of your wife, look after your kids. At times you have to cook, and then you have all other problems to address from the everyday life. Plus, of course, you have your work, teaching, collaborations, research, and so on. So you are really a superhero, Artur. And as I already said so many times, we are here to support you in whenever you need it. So Artur, you recently co-authored a book on column generation in a project led by Eduardo Uchoa. Would you like to say a few words about it?
This book, I tried to escape from it many times because of the situation. It's nice to talk about this just after explaining the situation, but he did not let me leave. And I thank him for that. Indeed, I thank Eduardo Uchoa for many things in my career. Although
I thank him too, by the way.
Although we fight a lot, we discuss a lot because he complains that I don't give more attention to things that he thinks that are more important, and he's right. But sometimes I like to do simple things. You know me.
Sure, yeah.
But he is really important. I would not be a scientist like this without him. But it's a nice book. I think it's a nice contribution because we have our way of viewing column generation, and that we are putting in the book some interpretations and some point of views that we have. We are putting in the book, but we try to put it together with other point of views. So we try to compare the point of views and to discuss things that we would not be able to do in papers, and that's really nice. We released the first part that is just for basic things, but this part has already many nice insights, in my opinion. I would like to have helped more than I did. I'll try to do in the second part more because my life is getting more organized. It doesn't matter how hard is your situation. At some point, you find a way to do things. and to organize things. I think that's a good message to give.
Yes.
At some point we start to find a way to live, to organize the things, and to be able to be productive again. That's it.
Yes, that's a very nice message, Artur. I mean, sometimes you have to navigate on the infeasible solution space to come up with a very promising feasible solution. So I think that summarizes your life in the recent years, right?
And if you are very upset, then you take a skateboard and go to the streets at the night and try not to die.
Okay, that's also a good message. So Artur, what are your plans for the future?
Okay, my plans now, I think Eduardo Uchoa agrees with that. That's some unexpected thing, but because I wanted to work more in VRPSolver, but in the software part. I think we failed to make the software usable for most people, because this software is a generic tool that should be used more. I would like to try to make it more flexible, more adjustable for specific situations, for people that want to write any paper in column generation, that can use the software, all the tools that are available there, that makes a lot of difference in the performance. And the person must be able to combine it with his own ideas, that are new ideas, because to publish a paper, you need to have new ideas. And today, I think the software is still not very much customizable. I would like to try to make it more customizable. And there are some ideas. Even Ruslan Sadikov, that is now working in a company, did some work on that direction. And I would like to take this work and try to improve
continue.
Continue.
Right. Yes. Very nice. So the idea to turn more attention to optimization software is very important. Sometimes not as appreciated as it should, but it's really relevant. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the progress on VRPSolver and other frameworks like Coluna, for example, too, right? That you have contributed. So that's something that we should keep an eye on. So Artur, one of the goals of the Subject to Project is to showcase the human side of the guests, who are otherwise generally recognized primarily for their professional achievements. According to Eduardo Uchoa, you are one of the hidden figures of our field, and I fully agree with him. Perhaps you prefer it this way, but I was very happy to help share your incredible story, which I believe represents the pinnacle of this project. Therefore, I would like to warmly thank you, not only for being the 100th guest in this Subject to series, but also for everything you have done for me, for our group, and for the OR community. From installing sockets in our labs during your visits to João Pessoa, to providing scientific guidance to the students and colleagues, and producing important work and software for our field. You have left a significant mark on many lives, and you should be proud of that. So, muito obrigado de verdade. Thanks a lot, Artur.
Thank you very much. I would like to say something just to finish.
Yes, please.
You were like realizing one of my dreams of children, because when I was a child, I dreamed to be a scientist, but I also dreamed to invent some very important thing and to be called by Jô Soares to be interviewed by him. Okay, you are not Jô Soares. He's a little bit fatter than you. But and when Jô Soares started to become old, I started to get scared, because he would die and I would not be famous enough to be called by him. But today I see that it's not about being famous. Some nice interviews that I watched, he was interviewing some not famous people, some unknown people, but that had interesting lives. So it's about a life. I think a life where you love something and you try to motivate people to love their job and to do the best for their job. I think, and I think I could do something in this direction.
Absolutely,
thank
Artur.
you very much. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. And just for the record, Jô Soares was a very famous interviewer, artist. He was a genius, and here in Brazil, and he died recently. And I feel flattered when you're comparing me to him. Of course, we're literally very different. Yes, he's more like an upper bound, and I'm more like a lower bound. So yes. But Artur, so keep up the good work. Stay healthy. Take care of your family. We need you to keep on providing us with fantastic ideas, insights, codes, and everything. So it has been wonderful to talk to you today. Once again, muito obrigado. Thank you so much, Artur. Yes, that was a that was a nice touch. Yes, Artur, thanks a lot. Ciao. Bye.